What's up and good morning. Welcome back to the SBS podcast. I'm Coach Ryan. You can follow me at Ryan at Strategize on Instagram and YouTube. Before we get into today's conversation, I want to take a quick moment to recap for anybody who may be a new listener about what we talked about this week, as well as for the returning listeners. We started the week out talking about stewardship over income, understanding that income alone will not change our lives. Stewardship does. Then we talked about building assets and not appearances, learning the difference between things that will grow our net worth and things that will simply look impressive but lose value over time. After that, we discussed the psychology of a liability-driven lifestyle and how many people end up financing an identity instead of building financial freedom. And yesterday, we talked about protection and emergency funds, creating financial buffers so that unexpected problems don't turn into long-term financial pressure. Believe it or not, none of these conversations were random. They were all intentional. Because before we can start talking about building businesses, we have to talk about foundations. Now, before we go further, I want to explain why these topics matter so much to me. I spent over a decade working in corporate accounting and finance. And during that time, I had an opportunity to see so many businesses from the inside. I've seen companies thrive. I've seen companies fail. After spending years in that environment, you start realizing something that many people outside of business don't always see. The amount of money a business makes doesn't guarantee its success. I've seen dysfunctional startups trying to figure things out in real time. I've seen massive S&P 500 companies with processes so complex that they slow themselves down. I've seen how government regulations shape how companies operate. And I've worked inside of organizations scaling to hundreds of employees. From the accounting seat, you get such a unique perspective because accounting sits right in the center of everything. It's the nucleus of a business. Every dollar flows through it. Every department touches it. Sales, operations, payroll, investments, growth decisions. They all show up in the numbers. So when you work in accounting and finance long enough, you don't just see what companies say they're doing. You actually know what they're doing. And one of the most eye-opening experiences I ever had was seeing a company generate $1 billion in annual revenue and only net $10 million in profit. That tells you something very important. Revenue alone doesn't mean strength. What matters is structure. What matters is discipline. What matters is management. Another reason I care about sharing this information is because of the statistics around small businesses. Many businesses fail within the first year. Even more struggle by year 5. And by year 10, a large percentage, doesn't even exist anymore. It's not always because the idea was bad, but the foundation wasn't strong enough to support growth. Which brings me to the topic today. Stability before strategy. Let me tell you something I see all the time. People say they want to start a business. And most of the time, the reasons sound like this. Tired of my job. I want financial freedom. I want to control my time. I want to make more money. All of those are completely understandable. But sometimes there's another reason underneath it. Pressure. Financial pressure. Lifestyle pressure. Debt pressure. Career frustration. Here's the reality. Starting a business is tough. Statistics show that about 20% of small businesses fail within the first year. By year 5, nearly half of all businesses have closed their doors. And by year 10, around 65% of businesses are no longer operating. That's not meant to discourage you, but it's meant to show you how important the foundation is. Because when pressure becomes a motivation, people often rush into strategy before they've built stability, and that's a dangerous order. A business built out of desperation often makes desperate decisions, bad partnerships, rushed ideas, taking money from the wrong people, chasing fast income instead of building something durable. Here's something that many don't realize. Starting a business doesn't remove financial pressure immediately. In most cases, it actually increases it. When you work a job, income is predictable. When you start a business, Income isn't guaranteed. Some months may be strong, other months may be quiet. Some opportunities take a lot longer to develop than what you'll normally expect it. And it's all normal. But if your personal life is already unstable financially, that instability follows you into your business. Now, instead of making clear decisions, you're making survival decisions. You take deals you shouldn't take. You're underpricing your work. You partner with people you don't fully trust. Not because you want to, but because you feel like you need the money. That's why stability matters. Stability creates patience. Stability creates clarity. Stability allows you to say no when something isn't right. But when if someone is financially stretched in their personal life, every opportunity feels urgent. And urgency can always cloud our judgment. Here's a simple way to think about it. Strategy is how you grow. Stability is what allows you to grow responsibly. Without stability, strategy becomes gambling. You're making big decisions with very little room for error. But when your foundation is solid, when your personal finances are disciplined, and when you have margin, when your obligations are manageable, you approach business differently. You're not chasing the income, you're building something. You're not reacting to pressure, you're responding to opportunity. That shift matters. Because building a business is not just about ideas, it's about endurance. And endurance requires stability. So we're going to shift next week where we're going to start to talk about building a business from the ground up. I want you to ask yourself a simple question. Is my life stable enough to support the pressure of entrepreneurship? Not perfect, just stable. Because the strongest businesses are rarely built from chaos. They're built from discipline. Stability before strategy. Foundation before scale. And when that order is right, everything you build on top of it has a better chance of lasting. And I'm so excited I finally get to shift into talking about building up a business from the ground up. Stay locked in with me because it's about to get real interesting. I'm about to give y'all hundreds of $1,000s worth of game that I've received through education and experience. Y'all have a fantastic weekend.
I'm feeling better than ever. Scratch that. Better than better. Only live once. Can't be me. I'm living forever. Turn up the bass. I stay out of trouble. I'm walking with God and stomp on the devil. I had to follow the plan when I did not understand. Now I just feel like the man. Watch how I'm doing my dance. Bigger than me with your brand. All that I need is a chance. I pray that we see promised land. I know that we can.